Good evening, guys, and welcome to another episode of the We Know Nothing Show. After a small hiatus, we're back with a vengeance, and yeah, ready to go. Everyone's excited to be on the show. And yeah, tonight we have got two very special guests of the show. We've been trying to get these two on for a while. I think they finally caved in. So we've got the one and only Liam Husbands. Welcome to the show, Liam Husbands.
You for having me, Ken.
Good to have you on the show. And then we've got the man, the myth, the legend, Tucker, fondly known to his friends, and Martin to me, as he points out nicely. So welcome to the show, Mr. Martin Hartley Howarth. Pleasure
Thank you
to
very
have you.
much.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for
Great to
asking.
have you both on. Hey, no worries. Great to have you both on, lads. And yeah, as always, Younger couldn't do it without your son. Won't want to do it without your son. Welcome to the We Know Nothing show. We're back with a bang, aren't we? As always, son.
As always, mate.
As always, mate. Yeah, and guys, I know this is the most like cringe-worthy bit of the episode, but as we've said, we're doing this to try and get off the ground. So constructive criticism is welcome. Keep the negativity away, full stop. But yeah, enjoy though, guys. And yeah, Younger, kick us off, son.
Yeah, so lads, Martin, Liam, welcome. Mark, back again. Let's give it another go, as we do.
Yeah,
Um,
as we do, son.
Tonight, we're going to touch on England. They're playing now 2-0 up against Italy. Like we were just saying off air, lads, it's a funny old game, isn't it, where we're qualifiers and we play well and we get beat off them in a European Cup final. So we'll touch on England, and then obviously we're going to talk about Burnley, being four Burnley fans, and so yeah, we'll fire into them. We'll give a little bit of grief to the guys down the road as well, I'm sure. But yeah, let's start off with England. Obviously, you named an England squad for the up and coming qualifiers, one that's taking place now. Guys, what do you think of that squad? Anybody you feel at the minute that's missing, that should be in, and anybody that's got in that definitely shouldn't be in?
The only thing I can really think of is that unless he's injured, where's Pope?
Pope's injured. He got replaced before stuff. Personally, the only one I can think of which he hasn't got in is James Ward-Prowse, because he's carrying that Southampton team, and he's lost ball playing midfielders like Mason Mount. So why is he not replacing him with another one of them kind of players, and possibly Ben White again in banging form for Arsenal, but he likes his favourites.
Yeah, I mean, I think you both made really good points. I made myself look like a bit of a muppet yesterday on Facebook. I want to rant about Nick Pope only for someone to tell me he's injured. So I'll take everything back I said about that. But no, I think for me, the most disappointing thing about the squad is it's like I don't really like Jamie O'Hara because I think he's a bit of a numpty, but he were right what he said about Southgate. He's become very predictable in his squad selections and very, very. I feel sorry for the player. The one that jumps out at me, and this is really infuriating, is that Southgate come out last week. I think he said after the squad were announced, he said we haven't got the depth not to pick the lads that we've picked. Utter nonsense. Ben White can play centre half and right back. The one that I want in that squad is Tomori from Milan because he's ripping it up in Italy. He's playing in a world-class AC Milan team, and he's probably one of the best. Even and I all end up because I was Chris Smalling's biggest critic, but Chris Smalling absolutely when Pellegrini's not when Lorenzo Pellegrini's not playing at Roma, he's the skipper. And that's under Mourinho. So Mourinho's obviously had some good for him. I just don't see where this squad at the minute is going to that next level to get us over these hurdles and stuff. And that's my issue with Borgate is I think he's just very predictable.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think one of the things that he'd said was he finds it hard not to pick players on form, but he's not necessarily looking at club form. He's looking at England form. And I think he's arguably right with Pickford in goal. He's never really let him down. But I'm in full agreement with you guys. I think you need to bring, Harry Maguire's been having a tough time of it. He's having a decent game tonight. He's not stepped a foot wrong yet. But again, I don't think you can really keep picking him if he's not playing club football.
Well, that's it. You'd have thought that would have been the idea, wouldn't you? That they're getting that experience and they're getting that match fitness in to then perform at international level. Everything I had to say, to be fair, about the starting lineup is proved. Like I was going to say, I wouldn't have played Rice necessarily because I don't know if he's necessarily been playing that well for West Ham, and then he goes and bags. So
yeah, I think it's also down to mentality. Yeah, he's played 2 or 3 last games as Maguire, but when it comes to them games getting over the line, yeah, he might be match fit for England, but his mentality's not there because he hasn't been playing, and he's been picking 2 other players, so he's always liable to make a mistake. And yeah, he hasn't made one tonight, but it is qualifiers. There's 4, 5, 6 games left.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's it, though, isn't it? I think when you look at the fundamentals of it all, for me, like if you look at the Italian side, like there's a lad who's playing up top for. I'm not going to try pronouncing his name, but Mancini convinced this lad. I think I'm going to go with Nikita.
He's Argentinian, isn't he?
Nikita or something like that. Yeah. Basically, Mancini has convinced him to come away from the Argentina setup to come and play for Italy up top. Now, my issue I've got with this is that you look at the players that, and I'm not saying that Southgate would have convinced them, but one of the lads that jumps out is Musiala, who's at Bayern. He could have represented England, and we didn't even reach out to him. And that, for me, comes from the manager. There's a lad who plays at Sporting Lisbon as well. He won't even get a look in, called Marcus Edwards. Absolutely quality, fast, rapid, very direct, a bit like Saka. We have got players like that, but these games what are coming up like this, we know what we can expect. I could have picked that starting lineup tonight with my eyes closed because you knew we were going to pick. There weren't going to be any shocks. There weren't going to be any surprises. The only one I thought might have played were Foden, but again,
Phillips would have been the player that potentially wouldn't have been playing for me if I was to pick the side.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Just because he's not really playing for Manchester City at the minute, but again,
I just don't see where we're going under Southgate. I just can't see where we.
Well, that leads on to my next question, really. Can Southgate carry England forward now, or do we need to move on? In this next year, do we need to move on? But then, if we do move on, who's ready and waiting for that role?
See, if you'd have asked me before the last World Cup, I'd have said yes, because he's done semi-final of 18 Euros final. Thought, going into the last World Cup, he's going to get us to the next level, and we fell apart. We literally his tactics, everything was wrong in the knockout stages. So I just think I was a big believer of him. Mark will obviously go with me because he didn't. I was, but I'm kind of going to the thing of I think he'd had his time. This could be his last tournament, but I don't even think he'll get us that far in this tournament. Personally, for someone to replace him, the only people they'll look at is somebody like Gerrard or Lampard because he's an FA player. That's who they'll look at. They won't go out of the box for somebody like Eddie Howe, who could be an out of the box thing because he's somebody different, but they want to try and test the player.
And personally, for me as well, I think it's a case of last chance to let him through now anyway. For when it comes to Euros, I mean, we're going to get there. Let's be honest, because we very rarely don't qualify for tournaments. We're going to get there. It's just I think. Personally, I don't think there's any expectation on my side now because I've not got that much faith that we can get further than where we've got to. But that's because he's not changed anything. So have those set of players improved in that time? I don't necessarily think they have.
No.
Yeah,
I think obviously we've had a couple of players come through, but we haven't really improved, have we? That's the thing. We've had a few players appear on the scene, but again, he's still not playing players that. Where's Phil Foden? Like we should be building. I know Harry Kane. He scored tonight from penalty spot and become England's all-time leading goal scorer. But we should realistically be building a team around Phil Foden, And your Jack Grealish is a fantastic player. So why not try and have both of them players in your team and be very attacking? I know it's hard when you've got Saka as well, but
could you do that though? I think that's that obviously it's a good point that you bring up, young as always. Some good answers there, lads. From all you really. I think the point that I'm looking at from the squad itself. I think, like you said, there's no one in that team for me other than four players in that team that really get me my juices going. And I want to watch them play. And that's Foden, Bellingham, Grealish, and Saka. They're for me the players that really we should be building. We should be building the team around. Under Southgate, I said it before the last before the last World Cup. Can't see us going anywhere with him. He doesn't pick the right team. Doesn't build. Any manager with that attacking lineup or with that attacking threat that we've got would be absolutely looking at. And I know, like Youngie, like you said, Harry Kane scored a lot of goals for England. His record goal scoring stuff. But I'd love to see England playing as a three, where your Fordens, your Sakas, your Grealish interchanging like the Liverpool three usually are Mane, Salah, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying they're the same caliber of player, but they could definitely play that sort of that sort of style. I mean, for me, that's what we got to be looking at. But with Southgate, he's not going to do it. I think he is on borrowed time. Not even when he said he were going to make, they were going to give him the decision to be up to him because he had a get out of jail free card. I know he's done well for us, but like you said, Tucker and Eddie Howe, would be good for England. The Steven Gerrard, I'm not so sure because he's like I said, I think he'd be a yes man. But I just thought I think we've gone as far as we can go under Southgate. To be honest with you,
I think when it comes to like Lampard and Gerrard as well being touted for it, I'd say would they not probably be better off suited doing under 21s or under 20s first, getting that experience. Like Southgate's done to his credit, he's worked with that group for a long, long time, and so he's built something there. It just feels like it's got to a natural end for me. But he's put the work a long time from being youngsters. It's just then who do you bring in and how long are you expected to wait before we win something? Because we are going to be impatient, aren't we? The more we're getting close to these semi-finals and finals, the more we're going to be anxious as fans that we need to get it over the line now. So it's just how long do we give this new gaffer a chance?
Just a question for all three of you.
Sorry, Mark.
The question for all three of you. Just a question now, right? Ruling out Eddie Howe, Steven Gerrard, and Frank Lampard, if they weren't available, who do you go and get? If Southgate gets sacked tonight, and you've got an opportunity to go and get someone tomorrow that you think would come in and do the job, who would you go and get? I'll kick it off.
Go on then. Go on.
And I'll kick it off, and I'd go controversial, but I'd go Pochettino.
Pochettino, right? Okay. I think mine might be a little bit controversial, but something in me just thinks that Mourinho could win us something, but at an international level. He's done everything at club level. I think he's got something to prove at international level. As far as I'm aware, that's what he wants to be doing.
Go on, Martin, on you.
Yeah.
He saying himself.
No, well, yeah. Anybody could do better job. With his work with the young players and bringing them through, and again, but this is staying English. Potter.
Yeah, I can see a Potter.
I'd have gone previously before this current really poor run with Chelsea. I probably agreed with you, but again, it's what he's working with at Chelsea, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, for me, I like Gareth Ainsworth. I think he's just a decent manager. Can anybody hear me?
Okay, sorry, I'm distracted because I think Mark's talking.
Mark's on mute.
It looks like he's muted himself.
Yeah, he has muted himself.
Yeah. Yeah. Gareth Ainsworth's the fashion icon.
Yeah, well, for me, I think I know it's worked a lot in lower leagues and had to work with a lot of nothing and done quite well. So I think, given an opportunity at international level where you're not signing players and things like that, I think it's a little bit different. So I like some of his style of football that he's been playing as well. So yeah, Gareth Ainsworth for me would be somebody, but they're all good choices, aren't they?
Sorry, hang on a minute. I don't think I heard that right. Did you say Gareth Ainsworth?
Yeah.
You've been on that. You've been on that source again. You've been on that source. You've been on that.
For what? For a minute, I thought you were gonna. I thought you were gonna go with Dash. And you went Gareth Ainsworth.
All right.
That's
like,
I'm not that as against it as everyone else is. I think it's a decent show.
That is
I get where he's worked his way up the leagues. He's worked with young players. He's developed them.
Yeah, but I go back to Liam's point a minute ago about coming through the levels. I think it's perfect for someone, especially the way that English football's set up. And we have an under-21s, and we sometimes have that B team, but all the way down we have levels of international football. So why not start lower and build yourself up, and then your natural progression is into that England team where you've worked with everybody a lot like Southgate's done. Yes, you become that FA man because you've been around it for such a long time, but it's not necessarily been a bad thing. Look, he's given us some of the best tournament runs we've had in decades, really. So
would you do the same? So in that sense, then, Younger, going back to your point about Gareth Ainsworth, then, so would you do that in the sense of maybe a Gareth Ainsworth comes into the under-21s, gets a feel about the players, gets a feel how the FA want it to be run, and then you sort of. So I suppose the point that I'm trying to make is, what would you do it as like a long-term successor? So basically, you get the under-21s job with a view to getting the senior job in a couple of seasons, depending.
Yeah, I think as long as you do well with the under-21s, I can't see a reason why not. I think it has to be like any other job. I think if you go in and the under-21s, we've got a lot of young, great English footballers. They should be winning tournaments as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree with that.
As long as they're getting towards the end of tournaments, then there's nothing to lose in progressing that coach manager on to being the main England manager. And again, he knows them players, and the players will know him and what he wants out of them when it comes to training every time there's an England international.
Yeah, there is that. Yeah, I mean, good points as always, boys. I think we won't rule out any one of us taking an England job, though.
Well, if you look at my football manager career, then I should have it now.
Well, let's leave England right there, and let's move on to Burnley. So, top at Championship, for me, it's almost done and dusted. 13 points clear of second, 16 points clear of third. And if we beat Sunderland and Middlesbrough, that guarantees promotion. We're not being caught, are we, lads?
Can't see it. Really
Absolutely
can't see it now.
No chance.
I mean,
no chance.
Martin and Mark will tell you, like, I'd like to be a realist, and I'd have said at the start of the season I'd have taken maybe just above mid-table, because I just didn't know what it was going to be like, what the new Burnley were going to look like. But it blew me away from day one. We watched the Huddersfield game round at Marks, and the way we played were phenomenal. And was just losing. Was it two games in the league all season?
Yep.
It's unheard of as a Burnley fan, that, isn't it?
It's just unreal. It's just what a time! What a time to be a Claret.
2-1. That lad who's just I bigged up has scored. Tege, he's called Tege Telly or something like that. No, I think the thing for me is that when at the beginning of the season, when I looked at it, I thought, you know what, maybe I were a bit bullish in it, but I said we'd finish top two. I said we'd go up, because the reason why I thought we'd go up is because completely different style it would be played. Company will bring the players in, and I think after watching, like I said, I think after watching the Huddersfield game, like I say, we were blown away by it. It was like we'd gone 10 steps forward, like in a short amount of time. I think, like I say, two defeats all season, unbeaten at home, which I generally think we won't lose at all home all season. And I don't know me. I just think you're on cloud nine. It's not just everything. It's not just what they're doing on the pitch. It's what they've done off the pitch in the sense of they've reconnected the fans with the club as well. Like who'd have thought we'd get like 20 to 21,000 on a Tuesday night? You know what I mean? It's them kind of things that he's done for the fans and the club and everything like that. And it's only going to get better. I would have never have thought I'd hear someone like Neil Warnock, who hates us, say we're best championship team in the last 25 years. That Neil Warnock hates Burnley. Liam Rossini, best championship team in the last 10 years. All the plaudits, what the boys are getting, they absolutely deserve it tenfold. I can't wait to see what the future holds for us. I'll be honest with you, boys.
Mark, have you got out to say on that?
No, not really. It's just surreal for me more because we normally have promotions, so would have done by like what 2 games left, 3,
Yeah.
2 at a push 3, not with what 9, 10 games left. It's just I remember once we got promoted to the second division and we were top at Christmas, 10 points clear. We thought we were going up and we didn't even make the playoffs. So I was always one of those. I don't sing that our song until a certain point. I don't do that. I'm the same as Liam. But for me, the turning point was over Christmas when we beat the likes of Stoke 1-0 away from home. Yes, it was good blowing teams away, but can we do it, as the old lady says, on a cold night and at Stoke on a Tuesday? Can you grind the one? But can you grind the 1-0 wins out? Can you grind games out? And we were doing. That's where, for me, I thought we're going to go now.
We got that resilience after we got beat off Sheffield United, didn't we? We got battered off Sheffield United. They put us to the sword. We didn't play very well. They played probably their best game they've played all season, and they put us to the sword. But with that, it gave us that resilience. Now, you know, I know we've just gone to Manchester City and got absolutely battered, but the first half in that game, we were there. When we played Sheffield United, it was a 90 minutes of nothing. We looked leggy, we looked tired, and I think it was some of them games that for me, in that build up to the Sheffield United game, it was them games where we were winning 1-0 and drawing, and then winning 2-1 or 3-1 at the likes of Blackpool and stuff like that, and we end up dropping points. And could you imagine where we'd have been if we hadn't dropped them silly points? But it's just, it's one of them now. Where can we finish? What can we do? Can we stay unbeaten at home all season? We've still got to go to Middlesbrough. We've still got to play Middlesbrough. We've still got another Sheffield United game. We've still got some tough games to come. But I think that style of football he's got going is unbelievable. One of my questions I've got down is, at the start of the season, where did you see us finish? Now, I know Liam said he was thinking we'd be a little bit lower than what we are now, sort of outside the playoffs. But I know Mark was saying he saw us up and around that area. But for me, I was the same, edge of the playoffs if we were lucky, really. And that's just on numbers of players.
Yeah, I was the same. We'd been promoted and relegated in the season. We'd been in Premier League for 6 years, 7 years. Yeah. Football changes quick. So us coming back into the Championship, it's not the old, you've got to be a strong team like we were under Dash. It's going to be different. Didn't know how different it was going to be, but I think the standard of football might have decreased in the Championship. I don't think it's as strong as it used to be. Yes, there's still some strong teams in there, but there's a lot of teams who are in there who are fighting just to survive.
I agree.
Like you said, Mike, it's the fear of the unknown for what made me make the prediction at the start. Obviously, everything was new, relatively new board. To be fair, they've not been in that long. So we didn't really know what they would do if we got relegated, and whether we'd have the money to spend. And fair play to Alan Pace, he's put his hand in his pocket, albeit from player sales, but to not even spend anywhere near half of what we've sold, and to have that squad that we've got is amazing. And the depth we've got as well. Okay, it could be improved. Like any squad could be improved, but I've not felt that anybody that's come in has let anybody down. Really, has made us look any weaker necessarily.
Yeah. No, it's a good point. I mean, one of the points that that I want to ask you all is that there's been some recent interviews where I don't know if you've seen them with company about his yin to his yang in regards to Craig Bellamy and what Craig, what Bells brings to the club and stuff like that. And I'll be honest with you, when Craig Bellamy was a player, I hated him because obviously he was just one of them wind-up merchants. But what I love about the coaching style of what company does and what Bellamy does is that when we win something, team at season, team at year, or manager at month, he gets all his coaching back room. He gets everyone involved, kit men, boot men, everybody. And I think the one of the things that I want to bring across to you all and ask the question is that does that come from a chairman that has got 110% faith in company and he's backing him to the high hills, or does that come from company just coming in saying, "This is my gig. You just bankroll it, and I'll get us there." Or do you think it's a bit of both? Do you think the fact that he's got a chairman that believes in him and he's giving him a free rein and saying, "Look, you go and do what you do," or do you think it's a bit of both?
I'd be leaning more to the second, but I think like Martin was trying to say then both maybe, but I think more to the second. I think company's going to have had some assurances before he came in that he'll have a certain amount of say in what happens and that he won't want like our version of a director of football interfering. Maybe he wants to make the decisions, and I'd say rightly so at this point. If it's a complete rebuild and he's the guy they want to do it, then he should have a lot of the say in it. Personally, but I don't know. Obviously, we don't know for facts that that's the case, but it looks to me like that's how it's transpired.
Yeah,
it's okay.
What about you, Martin?
Yeah, I think possibly it's more leaning towards what Liam said. Company, yeah, I think Pace has obviously got the hand on the purse strings. Obviously, it's his club, he's running it. But the players that he's brought in, his scouting network, he's clearly come from somewhere where he's been before. So this was the thing when you looked at Dash kind of players, they were always English or he very rarely dipped into the foreign market. He said he hasn't got the scouting network. Well, company coming in with the space of 12 weeks, it's 14 players, and I don't even know how many of them were from England.
Yeah.
So there's clearly a scouting network had been out there, and company had been working on it before he even got the job. He's come out and many times in his meetings and interviews and said as soon as he found out he got given the job, he started straight away. So, yeah, I think company is a massive draw for a lot of players because the first question that anybody asks them when they start, what does it think it feel like for we're going to work for Vincent Kompany, one of the biggest centre-backs that's ever played in the Premier League?
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. No, honestly, I can't agree more. I want to go back to a point in a second about the finances that we've, the old Burnley would have sold them players, would have put a Mars bar back into the club, and the rest of it would have gone in and disappeared into the club, and you'd never have seen it again. Where it's completely different this time round. Obviously, we've got to try and get. We had this loan that we needed to pay back, but we also, like you say, then we went out and bought 14 players in a stupid amount of time. So no, I fully agree with you both there. I think it's very much all on Vincent Kompany, but Alan has got his hand on that purse string and he's not letting anybody take it off. I think it's a really well balanced setup that we've got.
Agreed.
And like I think it was Liam that already said, we still got things to add to this squad, but it's in great shape right now. So on that, who for you has been the best signing this season? And then also, who out of the players that have stayed has been that player that stepped up? Because obviously we've still got a couple of them players sticking around the squad at the minute.
Great question. Love
Very,
that.
very good question.
Very good question.
Mine's easy for the player of the season. Josh Cullen, hands down.
Yeah, I love him. So if I weren't swayed by Teller's goals, I'd probably agree with you. But just seeing Teller on fire recently, although that is scary for our prospects to sign him back.
On the flip side of that, though, because I like having an argument with you, on the flip side of that, though, I genuinely don't think we don't play the way we do and we don't tick if Josh Cullen in that team.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree with both points, to be honest.
And what were the other one? Youngest son? Most improved player under company?
Well, yeah, what the players that stayed around the club, who's the player that stands out?
See,
I
think
DJ's gonna love mine.
Well, I thought. Well, Mark might even like mine because the most improved for me.
No, don't say it.
For me, is the Welsh Cafu, Connor Roberts. I'm sorry, he has.
Again, he has been class.
He's a much stronger defender. He doesn't automatically cross a ball in when he needs to. He picks the right pass. I also like the fact of his fullbacks tuck in when they're moving forward. And that's when Josh Cullen comes into his own and fills in at those spaces, and he knows how to pass. But for me, I also do agree with Mark on the signing, possibly Cullen, because he does make us tick. I think he's only missed 1 or 2 games. And don't get me wrong, I think we may have won the 2 games, but he's a level of calm on the ball that is very rare we see.
Yeah. No, I agree. With all you Teller for me, it's been phenomenal. And like you say, Liam, it's going to be quite hard to keep him, but he's going to be asking for a move away because they didn't want him back, and they didn't want him to play in Premier League, and he scored more goals than they have this season. So it's a pretty good turnover for him. And you're right though.
I don't really think he stays though, Younger. I think we'll sign him. I can't see him going back to Southampton because Southampton are going to be relegated. The only way we won't get him is if a bigger club comes in for him. In my eyes, but which bigger club's going to come in for him? It's
not being proven in the Premier League sort of stuff, isn't it? Like,
yeah, of course.
He's really well proven in the Championship. Is he going to be able to do it in the Premier League? We don't know, but we want him because of what the season that he's had now. So yeah, but for me, I've also liked how Ashley Barnes has played this season. We didn't
just spinning in his chair right now.
We didn't go and buy that out and out striker that we really, really called for. I know Teller's been scoring a lot of goals, but it's not been dead central, has it? And a lot of the time it's been from. He tends to tuck into that midfield as well, so he'll come in. He plays that number 10 role so people can get off and around him. And yes, he's not setting loads of players, but he is holding that ball up. He is. The first couple of games he played Ashley Barnes Premier League, try and hustle and bustle, try and back into a Championship defender, and they were like, "Nah, go away, stupid. We're as strong as you are." And now he's playing football. Yeah. But again, the Connor Roberts thing, like somehow we've managed to. There's a player come out of somebody that everybody last year was like slating, really. So, I'm quite happy to see it. But again, I think the back line looks solid at times, but arguably that's because we've got one of the best Premier League defenders ever as your manager. So
just for a bit of fun, we've got, you have said Barnes and Teller, Younger.
Yeah.
Tucky, you've gone with the Welsh Cafu and Cullen or Teller, did you say? Yeah.
It was Cullen or possibly Bayer, but I'm going to stick with Cullen because when Bayer's he's come out, he has been replaced, and they've done well with Cullen for me. He's very underrated.
With that. Yeah, Liam, you are swayed by Teller's goals, which is understandable. Who would you say is the most improved player that stuck around under company?
You know what? I still struggle. I don't know. I want to say Joey. I really enjoyed seeing Goodmanson. It's actually good seeing him for a prolonged period of time, to be fair.
Yeah.
Without being out for injury. I think he always does a job for me. I've not honestly, I've not been on as many games as probably you to that. But for what I've seen, he's not put a foot wrong for me, Joey.
Yeah, I think for me, the more I've got two, and I'm not gonna put two midfielders in. But I think I'll probably kick myself for saying this later. But there's two players, hands down, Ashley Barnes, because I agree with wholeheartedly what you said, Youngie, about he very quickly, very quickly got that out of his system of throwing himself on the floor and throwing his hands up when he's not getting stuff, and he's dropped into that space and enabled the players like Teller, Zahuri, Benson to get on that ball in that area and go past him. I was a big believer in when someone's coming on that ball, if you're playing a lad up front, the lad you've got to have runners past him, and that's what we've got. So it's either him or the Welsh Cafu. I think since he's been back from the World Cup, I think he's been absolutely phenomenal. He's competing, he's doing his job as a fullback, he's tucking in, he's jumping for headers when he's not going to win them. He's doing everything he should be doing as a fullback. So, unlucky DJ, Ashley Barnes, and the Welsh Cafu.
Also scoring goals.
Yeah,
that's what I mean. Yeah. And he should have scored against Huddersfield, really, with that chance he had there. So
I think we've got the best players this season, because a few people have said it. Connor Roberts is the player that's stuck around out of the group of us, has been the most outstanding player. And then I think it's Teller or Cullen. I think it was 2 for 2, wasn't it? So, but look, I think the whole team's playing well. We all had a bit of a struggle on who it was. It could have been Bayer at the back. It's just one of them, isn't it? Like, there's players all over the park. I suppose you never know what you're going to get out of your two wingers, but still, Benson as well, quality player,
unbelievable talent, unbelievable.
As if Matson hadn't even had an entry as well. So,
it is crazy. Like when you do think about it, I don't think any of the signings have let themselves down. I've not seen as much of Bastian as everybody else. But when he's come on, he's done a job in cups and stuff. He's done a job there as well. So if that's what company wants for him, then he's done that, hasn't he?
Yeah, so, he's very combative.
Anybody's come in and been poor.
He's very combative, and I think that's what. And I think maybe that's why he's probably just missed out a little bit on more game time than he probably envisaged, because I think the job that Cork does, he does it better than Bastian, and he's better on the ball, and I think that's probably why Bastian misses out quite a few games, because Cork does that job.
Yeah.
So looking at the squad that we've got and looking at previous squads that we've had, who would you have liked to have sort of kept around and potentially been in this squad playing now? Let's have just one player that would potentially make a difference in this squad.
Wonder who Mark's going to say.
Everybody knows it. There's no point in me even saying it. 100% Stephen Defoe.
Oh, we're going that far back. I thought you meant the last couple of seasons. But yeah, I'd agree Stephen Defoe then. If we're going that far, then yeah, unreal.
Can you imagine him in that? Can you imagine him in that middle with Cork and Cullen?
Yeah, pulling strings like that. No, yeah, it'd be phenomenal, wouldn't it?
Yeah, just having a free roll.
Behave yourself.
More recently,
Behave
I'd say
yourself.
Parky would have fit into the setup well. I think we all knew inevitably we were going to go, but you could see the glimpses that he could, and at times he wanted to play out from the back, and he wanted to take into midfield. I think he was more geared up of the two centre backs. Although I was devastated when Ben Mead signed, or when we didn't offer contract. But I think Tarky would have fit in a little bit better of those two into centre backs. I think him and Bayer would have been an absolute storming combination to see.
Yeah.
Oh, what?
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. If you're going to chuck a wild card at it,
here we go.
I'd say Dale Stevens.
I don't even know what
Dale Stevens, the man who spent more time tying his laces than he did actually playing football.
Do not get me started on Dale Stevens.
We could be here all night.
We could be, yeah.
That is my Ashley Barnes. That is my Ashley Barnes.
Yeah, seriously, if you're going to go down this, I'm going to slightly go controversial because I think he could score a hell of a lot of goals. I'm going to say Andre Gray.
Because I think you could pick any of them three, couldn't you? Yeah. You know, you've got your Charlie Austin, Andre Gray, and Danny Ings. Any of them three in this setup would just be phenomenal.
What you're talking 30 goals plus? I think in that side.
Yeah, exactly.
If we're going way back, I'd definitely be having a Glenn Little in my team.
Best Burnley player ever.
Just. If that's how far we're going to go back, then Glenn Little, but also the striker Andy Payton that we had on a few weeks ago. He'd definitely do a job in this team. Them balls into the box and him scoring how many goals he got just inside 6-yard boxes and stuff. For me,
100%, absolutely 100% agree with them all.
Do you mind if I pose an awkward question?
An awkward question.
Never an awkward question.
It's going to be a controversial one. 2 words about Weghorst. What's your take? I know some people say that they won't have him back for all, but my logic is, are we going to get a great deal for him when he comes back? Is he worth a run in there? But is it an attitude thing? I don't know.
How much did we pay for him?
12.5, I
12.
think.
So
I think we'd probably break even if we sold him.
Yeah, I think it's his attitude. I think he might, because he look at the way he's playing for United. He's got world class, and I'm saying world class players around him. Your likes of Rashfords, your Casemiros, your Fernandez's around him, and he's still struggling to put the ball in the back of the net.
Yeah, that's
it.
So if you drop him down to, no offense, to our level in that Premier League, where you've got Collins, your Zahuras, your Bensons. Well, first of all, they won't be able to keep up with them two because they're really, really quick, and he's slow. So I just can't see it personally going to work out. I think we'll just cut his losses, and he goes.
Yeah, I know. As I mentioned attitude, I know. Sometimes I just think he didn't really get that. We knew his style when we brought him in. We knew that he liked ball at feet, even though he's 6'7", he should be able to head a bloody ball. But he liked it into his feet. And we didn't really play that style. We're still lumping balls up to him, expecting him to be in like the Volks linchpin role. Oh, only from my observations, obviously, correct me if I'm wrong. But I don't think it's as negative as it has been touted sometimes, maybe on the Twitter, but Twitter's better, isn't it?
Twitter's poison sometimes.
Yeah, I think Liam, it's a really good question. We like controversial questions on the We Know Nothing show. I think for me, he was a bit of a bad apple, and what I mean by that is, I don't think he was necessarily a bad apple in the sense of he was maliciously going out of his way to upset, the balance of the team and throw stuff out of chaos. I think what Wout Weghorst has got is an unbreakable confidence in his own ability. And you've got to commend him for that. In his own head, he turns up to whatever club he's signed for, and in his mind, he's one of the best at that club. And I love that. I love that about people. You should have a confidence in your own ability. I love that. However, the one thing I will say is rumours coming out of the club. When when Darts got sacked and stuff, and the reasons why he got sacked and stuff, a lot of things were made that Wout Weghorst was actually the one that actually stood up to him when he went for Cornet at Norwich. So if that's the case, then you've got to commend him for sticking up for players and stuff like that. But in this team, I think he does. I think he does all right, but again, I don't think he gets them goals. And I'll be honest with you, Man United will not sign him.
Oh no,
if you're
absolutely
talking
not, no.
Man United are going to be bought for like 5 billion, £6 billion. Wout Weghorst will be nowhere near that team because they'll just go out and sign quality players. And Wout won't want to be on bench. He won't come, but he'll come back to us, but we'll sell him. So that's my opinion.
I think, for me, his reasoning behind wanting to leave Burnley in the summer was potentially a valid reason. His manager at international level wanted him to be playing at the highest standard of football he could play at, and it was an opportunity to play at the World Cup, so why would you not want to? I think at this level that we're playing at now, he probably would have scored a few goals.
Yeah.
Would he have added to the team? I think at this level, yes. In the Premier League, I look at what he's doing at Man United. I don't think it's all bad, but he's not, like you say, he's playing with world-class players and he's not really scoring a lot of goals, albeit he's getting a few chances. I agree with Liam. He's not really that target man. He wants the ball to feet. He wants to try and play football. So for me, again, I'll agree with Martin on this one. Cut our losses at the end of the season. I think he will head to Germany, somewhere like that, maybe even Italy. If we get 6 million for him, happy days. He's gone, and we spend that 6 million on a player that we've never even heard of, but he's going to come and tear up the world, because that seems to be what happens, where if he stays, is he going to play on the bench for Burnley? I agree. He's not going to stay he's not going to sign for Man United at the end of the season. Not if their takeover happens before then. So, yeah, it's a great question. It opened up a can of worms, doesn't it?
Certainly does.
So,
yeah, it definitely does.
I've got a couple of questions left. I want you to think. End of season's happened. We've finished top of the league. We've won the league. You've got that extra money for going to the Premier League. You want to buy a marquee signing, someone that's well known. Obviously, he needs to add a little bit of Premier League experience for me to the team, but not aging. We want to bring in, a player that is of a similar age to the players that we're bringing in. We don't want to add age to that squad again. Where do you look? Who do you look at?
Possibly look at the three that have gone down.
Yeah, that'd be the natural.
Yeah, because
thought process. Wouldn't you think? Picking off the best players from those three that have gone down.
Because then they've got experience of the league and they might be of the right age.
Yeah.
Because you're not realistically, we're not looking in the top 6 for players unless they're coming on loan. For instance, obviously, Howard Bellis and players of that ilk.
So
the loans change next season, don't they? So we can have a lot more this season than what we can have next. It changes again, doesn't it? So
I think that'll be an impact on us. Just to put fuel onto your fire there, Tucky, with that, potentially going for players with teams that have gone down. Obviously, we didn't do it as much as I thought we would have done. But these sort of players will command a big fee. The Burnley go and pay that fee for like a Brennan Johnson or a Gibbs White, potentially at Notts Forest or someone like that, someone at Bournemouth, like, the lads in midfield, or, like a Ryan Christie, or do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think Ryan Christie will command a big fee, but you can see what my point, can't you? Like, do we go and spend that money on them kind of players?
But then obviously looking at what he's done this summer, he has brought players in that haven't really got championship experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
So
absolutely.
you're buying players with no fear.
Yeah.
Mm.
So it's really that catch-22, isn't it?
Exactly.
You buy a player, are they going to turn up and do well, or you're going to buy a player and they're not really going to hit that pace of the Premier League? Can we go and have a look at James Ward-Prowse? Is that an option for a Burnley coming up? Style
I
of
don't
football.
think James
Jack
Ward-Prowse
Cork
will be.
is end of season, somebody that would sit in that similar sort of position, can play football.
I would love to get him in, but I think we might suffer from England tax as well from him being an English player.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I mean, for James Ward-Prowse, I'm not doing the Claret a disservice here. I think he needs to go like top echelons.
Yeah, it's a step down in it for him if he came to Burnley. Like I say, it's not
undoubtedly do a job. Single-handedly be captain in the season.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I think you Ward-Prowse for me goes to like a Tottenham or somewhere like where he you know, and I know Tottenham are the Spurs, as Conte calls them and everyone else calls them. But I think Ward-Prowse does a job for Tottenham. However, I read somewhere, and it's like the lads will take the piss here because of Daniel Sturridge links and stuff like that in previous things. Yeah, that's it exactly.
Talk to his cleaner.
I read something somewhere that they've offered 2 pre-contracts to Ryan Kent from Rangers, and the lad from Dortmund, Rafael Guerrero.
Guerrero, is it left back or something? Left wing back?
Yeah, left back. Yep. And I think if
is there potential trying to sign him, because obviously Maatsen might end up not signing at the end of the season anyway. I know we're trying to.
I read today we're trying to do the deal to get him on permanent for Maatsen.
Yeah.
So does he sign Maatsen and Guerrero and Taylor goes?
Possibly. Yeah, I think potentially. Yeah.
The Guerrero thing could be trying to
of course it could.
Trying to make Chelsea think, oh, hang on, they have got other options.
They could miss out on.
Might need to think about being serious in negotiation.
Yeah, it's a good shout. I mean, Youngie, what do you think about this? Who do you if you've got like I suppose this is to all 4 of us really, got an open checkbook on our level. So let's not go silly with Mbappe and Haaland and players like that. How Burnley play? Oh my God!
His
he
brother.
is phenomenal. Yeah, his brother. Yeah. Who would you like to see? Who would you think out of current Premier League players at the minute and what they're doing and stuff like that? Who would you like to see? I'll kick it off, and I'd love to see a Brennan Johnson at Forest. I think he's quality. I think he's exactly what fits the mould for Burnley. Fast, knows where goal is, not afraid to take a player on. He's a bit like a Benson. But no, that's who I'd love for us to go and sign. Whether we do or not, I don't think we would, because we've already got that kind of player. But he would be definitely one I'd be going for.
Well, I think the trouble that I'm having picking is that, like with this season, it's an unknown in it, because we know we've got these players who are performing phenomenally in the Championship. It's just when we get there, do we look and say, where are we actually going to need strengthening?
Yeah,
that's the thing. And then Cork's not getting any younger, is he?
No.
So we have to look. I don't know if he's going to be. Yeah, I don't know if them 2 are going to be starting necessarily in the Premier League. So I'd like to see us get another central midfielder in. But when it comes to who, I don't really have a clue. Because do you go young? Do you go someone who's young, or do you need that Premier League experience with a bit of an older head in?
Well, I think we need to bolster that striker. So if I would add a young striker and potentially someone a bit experienced. Older. If it was me, I might be looking at Diaz at Blackburn, just because he's big and strong. He knows where the goal is. He's out of contract. I know seems like he's already done a pre-contract with a club abroad. I can't think of the name now.
Severe, I think, something like that. Isn't it?
Yeah, someone like that.
Somewhat daft.
And unproven Premier League, but he does know where the goal is, and he scores a variation of goals. So, and he's potentially going to be that player that if we do end up getting beat off Blackburn, which is not going to happen, is it? But he'd be the one that's going to score a goal against us because he can just score goals against anybody.
Yeah.
So I would look at somebody like that because he adds that experience. He's been international level footballer. I think, for me, that's who I would look at adding up top.
Yeah.
Maybe a Gyökeres or something from Coventry then.
Oh, I love him, mate. I think he's quality.
I know we discussed this over there when we met up, that if Middlesbrough don't go up, should we be looking at...
I was just going to say, I think somebody like Chuba Akpom was
naturally, we should be looking at a top scorer in the league.
Yes.
Exactly.
It's a likelihood thing, isn't it?
But from a midfield standpoint, and this could be a wild card of looking for someone who's got Premier League experience, is quite young, isn't really getting in the squad, and it might cost a bit of money. Conor Gallagher.
I was just about to say him.
Yeah.
Just about to say him.
He possibly could go back to Palace, but depends who Palace bring in the summer. So it's obviously not why he's not going to be there because he'll be back at Old People's One by then. But regarding, he's not going to get in that squad because they're going to buy again. They need to get rid of a lot of players. Obviously, Hudson-Odoi is coming back from Leverkusen. He'll be wanting first team football. Again, he'll be out the door. Loftus-Cheek, again, he's still quite young, but he's a bullish midfielder. Could easily walk into that team. So look at some clubs like Chelsea who they spent a lot of money, so they're going to have to reduce the squad.
Yeah.
So why not, especially with companies pulling power?
That's the thing that's going to be that's going to be the teller, and it's going to be can the name Vincent Kompany pull him into the Premier League, because he's done a good job. Obviously, he's done an immense job so far.
Yeah. So I've two left. Where do we see Burnley finishing next season? Because we're getting promoted. My other question on that is, can we get over that 100-point mark this season? Is it still an option for us? Obviously, if we carry on our home form, then we'll go close.
With regards to 100-point mark, I think we'll do 100, but I don't know if we'll necessarily get the record. 106, is it? Can we get the record?
Reading in it, who's got the record?
106 points, weren't it? I think. I think the key games are obviously going to be Sheffield United and Middlesbrough. If we win them, then I'll see us breaking the record. And next season, I'm going to be a little more optimistic this time. I'm a little less realistic, and I think we can do top half. I'm not going to go as far as pushing for Conference League or all like that. I think top half and not have to worry about being relegated with the style that we're playing. Obviously, time will tell, but the signs are obviously encouraging, and we've walked the Championship. I don't know if it's a fair representation of Bournemouth, but we absolutely battered them. First half an hour against City, even though it was 6-0, we were in it. We had a couple of chances. I think once Haaland scored, head went down, didn't it? And then it was inevitable what was going to happen there. But I think we've got to, and again against United in Cup, we weren't poor really. We missed a couple of sitters again. I think with Cherlin hit the post, and we missed Barnes might have missed a sitter. So we're in it. We're in all of those games. So I think we'll give them a good game. So I'm going to say upper, lower half of the top half of the table, if you get me.
Yeah. I agree
mid-table.
with
that. I think mid-table. It will be a struggle because there's going to be games where City will walk. I think City next season will be a lot stronger this year. I think Arsenal, dependent on who they're going to get, I don't know if they're going to strengthen as much, but City will. Liverpool definitely will. Chelsea, they've got the money. United will have the money. So there'll be times when we're going to come up against games and they'll just get walked over. But these teams in that league, your Fulhams, your Brightons, your Brentfords, Palace, there's them kind of games in and around you. Well, apart from parking the bus up, Mr. Dash coming down here, we'll park the bus for 90 minutes and we're going to break it down.
Nice. I think Everton are going to beat us twice just for
That's the thing. Yeah. Look, have they done any better than me? Yeah. No, I kind of agree with you there, Liam.
That's if they're there.
Yeah, I think they'll stay up. I think it's... If you're looking at your players who possibly you might keep up, look at Leeds. they don't know if they're going to stay up. They've got some cracking players.
Yeah, I agree. I think mid-table has to be a realistic target. I don't think he's going to aim much higher than mid-table. You know, you're 10 to 12, maybe even down to 14th, really, just in that area where you're safe. You know, a Crystal Palace, really. The natural Crystal Palace, you know, you sit in that mid-table and you're quite happy. I think the following season, if we do that, then we've got to be aiming higher. But I think we're building pretty sharpish. I think realistically, you would say I'd take mid-table for the next 3 seasons and then and build and keep going with the young ones and try not to let the big clubs drag them younger players away from you as they get better. And and then push on. I agree. Of course, Darch coming back to the turf and nicking the 3 points. It wouldn't be unheard of, would it? Somebody
he'll play 4-4. He'll play 4-2-4. He won't play 4-4-2. He'll completely change.
And I think I agree. Looking at your Bournemouth game, we played them off the park really. Again, the first half an hour, there was a couple of chances where I think if other players had got in behind, we might have scored. There was one noticeable chance where we won the ball and it wasn't Teller that ran away, it was Foster. And I'm still not sold on him yet. And instead of him running away, if it was Teller that was there, we'd have ran away and had a chance on goal, and he didn't run away. And he probably should have just passed it to Teller, who was on his right hand side at that point, and let him go. But and again against City, we played a few of the fringe players. It wasn't our full starting lineup. The first goal, it's a bit of naivety from your 2 centre halves getting tucked in, and he just makes a perfect run. And one of them's going to pick the ball up, whether it's Mahrez or Haaland. Just so happened that it was one touch and it was in back at net.
Exactly.
Mid-table, I'm quite happy with that. My last question, we've got a few minutes left, is how long can we keep hold of Vincent Kompany for?
Depends until Pep goes.
Yeah, 2 seasons. I just touching on your league positions and stuff. Definitely mid-table. Agree with that. And I'm going to be controversial because I like to be. We're definitely beating that points record as well. 100%. I think it was in 9 games, 10 games.
I think we've got to win all of them.
Yeah, we can't drop any points, I think, to get a record.
I think we're definitely going to do it. But Kompany stays for 2 seasons. This season and the next season, and that's when Pep goes. For me, he's the heir apparent to Pep. Simple as that.
Yeah, I think no doubt he'll end up at City at some point. But from listening to interviews with him, he wants City to have the best manager in the world at the time. You can tell the passion he has for him. And I don't think if Pep goes in the next 2 seasons, that he'll class himself as being ready. He'll want to be the absolute best. He'll want to try and get up that league with that, whether that be us or with another Premier League team. But the idea of him coming over was he wanted to be close to the Northwest. So his wife's from the Northwest. His kids are all grown up around there. They're all City fans. So
I think they stayed, didn't they?
An element of destiny.
When he went out to Anderlecht, his kids and everything stayed in England.
So I think there is destiny there that he will end up at City, but I can't see it in the next couple of seasons. I think he'll sign a new contract with us. I don't know how long his contract is, but I think he'll sign a new contract with us and see that out, and then maybe see what options are there. But I don't think City's his next protocol.
No,
Any truth in the Tottenham link? Any truth in the Tottenham link?
He's not taking that job.
No, I think I agree with Liam with Northwest links, and like Liam said, can't see it.
Yeah, he's not taking that job. But because it's in London and because it's Tottenham and not Man City, he's not going to do it. He's not going to tarnish the chance he's got to go be a legend at Man City again by going to Tottenham and potentially taking him to Man City and trying to beat him this season, next season. But lads, that's it. My paper's blank now. We finished with 1 minute and 20 seconds on the second session to go. So, Martin, Liam, thank you for coming on. It's been another cracking show. I'm not sure about idiot in my top left hand side, but
thank you for having us, though, mate. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
I'm talking to you. But let's definitely do this again. Let's get on. If it's not before end of season, let's get on in the middle of the split in the season, and we'll have a chat about the next season and potentially some incomings and outgoings.
Sounds good to me. Thanks a lot, fellas.
Cheers.
Mark,
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure again.
Yeah, cheers, boys.
See you later, lads.
Always, son. Can't
Bye,
do without you, mate. Take care, boys.